I feel bad saying this because I really wanted to love this air purifier, but it's just not a good investment. Today, I will share my picks for the best Winix air purifiers on the market. And by the end of the video, you will know which one is the best for you. And our top for most people is the Winix 5500-2. Whilst this isn't a new model from Winix, the 5500-2 has been understandably popular since its release in 2016. The two reasons why the Winix 5500-2 is my #1 pick are its performance and its price. At top speed, it reigns supreme as the fastest Winix air purifier on our leaderboard. It achieved PM10 in 23 minutes, which is faster than the newer and more expensive devices like the Coway AirMega 250S or the Dyson Big and Quiet BP06. Based on our particle removal test, we estimate a KDAR of 259 CFM, which makes the 5500-2 a solid choice for those wanting to get 5 air changes per hour in spaces up to 388 square feet. I also retested the particle removal speed of the 5500-2 when running at speed 2, as it's the highest speed at which you can run it whilst generating less than 45 decibels of sound at 3 feet away. When running at this sub 45 decibel speed, the 5500-2 achieved PM10 in our test in 43 minutes, which we estimate a KDAR to be 137 CFM, so it's good for 5 air changes per hour in spaces up to 205 square feet. I was surprised to see that when running at top speed, it was quieter than the newer range of Winix devices like the T810 and the 5510. The other reason I think the 5500-2 is the best of the pack is its affordable upfront price and long-term running costs considering its power. While energy usage is on par with that of similar performing Winix devices, the real savings happen when the time comes to replace the filters. The Winix 5500-2 has been available on the market since 2016, so there are many different filter options both directly from Winix and from generic brands like Purifiers. The original Winix 5500-2 filters are the Type H filters, which an OEM set including the HEPA and carbon filters are selling on Amazon for $40. And if you go with the generic filters, the filter cost can drop down to $14.99 per year if you buy a 2-pack. As the 5500-2 has the exact dimensions as the 5300-2 and many other Winix models, you can also use the Type A filters that use the cheaper impregnated carbon if you want to save even more, even when going with genuine Winix filters. The OEM Type A filter from Winix is currently selling for $27.99 on Amazon and includes a true HEPA filter and 4 carbon impregnate filters that will last you for 1 year. And if you want to drop this even lower, you can get a 4-pack of generic Type A particle filters, which only include the particle filter, so no carbon, and they are $36.99, which brings the filter replacement cost down to just $9.24 without carbon. The legacy and sheer number of existing customers for the Winix 5500-2 and the models that share the same body design means that this can be one of the cheapest air purifiers to run in the long term, even rivaling DIY devices that use HVAC filters. Plus, you can rest assured that whatever happens, you will find a filter replacement for a good price for this device online. This is a big reason why the 5500-2 is our top Winix device for most people. But there are some downsides to this model. First, it uses plasma wave, which is a bipolar ionization technology designed by Winix that improves particle removal performance in our test by around 5%. Whilst it's not a traditional ionizer function that will generate high levels of ozone, I do know that some consumers will want to avoid any form of ionization. The good news is that you can just disable the plasma wave if you don't want to use it. The other downside is the 5500-2 is older than other Winix devices available to buy today, so the design is a little more dated than some people would like. It's bigger and bulkier than the T810 and the 5510 and lacks the smart features and app connectivity that these newer models have. If you can't find the 5500-2 in your region but want a similar level of performance and value for your money, then look for the Winix C545, which is smaller and comes in white, or the Winix AM10 or the Winix 0S, which has a more modern design than the 5500-2 but uses the same filters. If space is tight, then look at our small but mighty pick, the best small Winix, which is the A231. I always recommend that most people push for a mid-sized air purifier, as long-term running costs for larger units can end up being the same as what you'll pay for a smaller unit, due to smaller air purifiers generally needing filters to be replaced more often. But I know that some of you may not have the floor space for a larger device, or you might be looking for a unit that you can place on top of a desk or a side table. Even though it has a list price of $99.99, you will often find it on Amazon for just $75, and it offers solid air cleaning performance for this low price. In our testing, it cleaned our test room of PM1 particles from incense smoke in 40 minutes, which is faster than what we recorded when testing more expensive, similar sized air purifiers like the Levoit Core 300S or the Show Me 4 Compact. Based on the particle removal results, we estimate a KDAR of 148 CFM, which makes the Winix A231 a good choice for those looking for a device that could offer 5 air changes per hour in spaces up to 222 square feet. The Winix A231 generates 57.9 decibels at top speed, so we ran the particle removal test with the A231 running at speed 1, as it's the only fan speed below the 45 decibel mark, and it generates 35.2 decibels of noise. At speed 1, the A231 took 86 minutes to clean our test room of PM1, so we estimate a KDAR of 66 CFM, which is only good for 5 air changes in spaces up to 100 square feet. Running the A231 at top speed will cost $50.65 in energy, which is comparable to mid-sized air purifiers on our list. The A231 uses Type O Winix filters, which cost $49.99 from the manufacturer. However, as this smaller Winix has been very, very popular, there are many generic options available, and one can get a set of filters for as low as $16. We recently picked the Winix A231 as a top budget option for small air purifiers on the market, so it makes sense that it's also our top small choice for Winix devices. There are some downsides to be aware of. Firstly, the bonded filter may need changing more often, as it uses the cheaper impregnated carbon that can be used up very quickly if you're dealing with any major odors or VOCs. Even though it's a small air purifier, the A231 is as loud as bigger devices. When running at top speed, it generates 57.9 decibels, which is the same level of noise you can expect from much larger devices like the Levoit Everest Air or the Rabbit Air A3. Next up, we have our best smart Winix model, and for this we've chosen the T810. While other brands have been creating app-supported air purifiers for quite some time, Winix is fairly new to the smart air purifier market after introducing new devices such as the Winix 5510 and this T810. Unlike the older Winix models, these models clearly show that Winix has been focusing heavily on smart functions and design aesthetics for their new air purifiers. In fact, the T810 or the T830 in blue is, in my opinion, the best looking Winix device on the market. While screens have been used in models from other brands for years, this is the first Winix device to sport a screen that can provide real-time information from the onboard sensor. The T810 also has a particle sensor, unlike the gas sensor we see in most Winix models. In terms of air cleaning performance, the performance of the T810 was good at both full speed and speed 2, which is the highest sub 45 decibel speed. When running at its top speed, the T810 cleared all PM1 particles in our test room in 26 minutes, which is faster than what we saw when we tested larger and more expensive devices like the Allen Breed Smart 45i or the Miele. Based on these particle removal results, we estimate a KDAR of 229 CFM, which makes the Winix T810 a good choice for those looking for a device that could offer 5 air changes per hour in spaces up to 343 square feet. And I was pleasantly surprised by the performance of the T810 when running at speed 2, where it generates just 44.8 decibels of noise. At speed 2, the T810 needed 46 minutes to clean our test room of all PM1, which is just 3 minutes slower than the 5502, but with a much smaller footprint and a much nicer looking design. At this sub 45 decibel speed, we estimate a KDAR of 128 CFM, which is only good for 5 air changes in spaces up to 192 square feet. If you want app support and the benefit of an onboard screen to see the real-time data from the air quality sensor inside the device, then the T810 in grey or the T830 in blue are the best smart Winix models to choose from. The only two downsides to be aware of are that, like the A230, the filters of the T810 are bonded and use impregnated carbon instead of pellets, which we see with other Winix models. This might lead to a shorter lifespan if you have serious issues with odors and gases, and it also makes it more cumbersome to clean the pre-filter regularly, as you need to remove the whole filter and it can get a little messy. The T810 also runs louder at top speed than most other Winx devices in our roster, hitting 62.5 decibels versus the 58.9 decibels we saw with the larger 5500 II. Now, a quick public service announcement. This next model might tempt you with its looks, but here's why I'd stick with the classics, and this is our Winx devices to avoid. I feel bad saying this because I really wanted to love this air purifier, but the Winx 5510 is just not a good investment. While it's not a terrible device, I think the older Winx 5500 II is a better choice for most people, as it's not only kinder to the wallet, but it also performs better at cleaning the air without generating as much noise as the newer 5510. In fact, in our testing, the 5510 ran louder than every other Winx air purifier in our collection, and this includes very large devices like the Winx Zero Pro. Now, this wouldn't be an issue if the 5510 offered insane air cleaning power at top speed, but unfortunately it doesn't. The 5510 completed our particle removal test in 24 minutes at top speed, which is very good, but is still slower than the older 5500 II, and the same level of air cleaning performance you saw in another older Winx device like the 5300 II. Based on these particle removal results, we estimate a KDAR of 248 CFM. Now you might say, oh Danny, you're being too harsh. 24 minutes is on par with many great air purifiers like the Smart Air SA600, the Coway Air Mega 250S, and even the $700 Rabbit Air A3. But remember that this good air cleaning power comes from generating over 67 decibels of noise, which is as loud as a quiet vacuum cleaner running in the background. So I retested the 5510 running at its higher sub 45 decibel speed, which is speed 2, that generates 40.8 decibels of noise. At speed 2, the 5510 needed 60 minutes to reach PM10 in our test room, and based on this results, we estimate a sub 45 decibel KDAR of 97 CFM, which would only offer 5 air changes in spaces up to 145 square feet. To put it into perspective, this is slower than every other Winx device I have tested, bar the much smaller Winx A231. The Winx 5510 is more compact than the 5500 II, it comes with a smartphone, app support, and it does look beautiful. However, I would recommend that most people stick to the older Winx 5500 II, as it will not only offer better air cleaning performance both at top speed and sub 45 decibel speeds, but you will also get more availability of filters for a cheaper price. And if looks, smart functions and app connectivity are important to you, then check out the Winx T810, as it will offer all of that with improved performance at quiet fan speeds. Finally, an old Winx device I want to see coming back. Only a few days after publishing my video review of the Winx Zero Pro, known as the HR900 in the US, Winx announced that it would be discontinued. This was a real shame, as I really liked this device. It offered good air cleaning performance, looks good, and has dual gas and particle sensors for improved auto mode performance. After reading about the announcement online, I quickly saw that I'm not the only one who thinks that this is a hidden gem. So let's petition Winx to bring back the Zero Pro, maybe with app connectivity? It's good ideas though, isn't it? Anyway, before I get derailed dreaming about the return of the Zero Pro, let's recap my top picks for those looking for the best Winx air purifiers on the market today. So the best for most people is the Winx 5500 II, the best small Winx is the A230, and the best smart Winx is the T810. Since 2020, I have tested and reviewed 96 air purifiers from different brands. All my recommendations are based on our first-hand experiments, including a particle removal test at top speed and sub 45 decibels, sound tests from 3 feet away, electricity consumption, and yearly running costs. We also live with the air purifiers in our home to assess the overall user experience in the long term and test out features like the app support, auto mode in different day-to-day situations. I hope this video will help you choose the right Winx air purifier for your unique situation. If you do decide to buy one of these devices, please use the affiliate link we've included in the description of the video to support the work we do at HouseFresh. We get a small 3% cut at no extra cost to you, which will allow us to buy and test more air purifiers in the future. As always, let me know your thoughts in the comments, and I will see you all in the next video.